So everyone in the world has to eat. They need to eat. A subset of everyone is those who like to eat. And a subset of those who like to eat are those who love to eat. And I am of the latter group. And our guest today, Janet Zuccarini, is also one who loves to eat, so much so that she is the founder of Gusto 54, a restaurant group that is operating both in Toronto and Los Angeles. And her story is really amazing, but A, because she loves to eat, and B, she did something about it. So Janet, I can't thank you enough. Welcome to the Best Boss Ever podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Carl. Thanks for the lovely introduction, too.
No, it's what we do here, or we try.
Yes.
So Gusto 54, you're going to tell us about it. It sort of started when, how many restaurants are in the group and the portfolio right now? How did you get your start? And who, or maybe more than one who, was the most influential leader, mentor, or maybe even boss that you've ever had? So off you go.
Opened my first restaurant in 1996. So June, the first restaurant will be 30 years old. So I've been in the business a while. And that came out of after I lived in Italy for 8 years. I went to university in Rome and came back to Toronto, where I'm from. And it's a longer story than I could possibly tell on this podcast because it's not interesting enough, but two guys asked me to be a partner in a restaurant. And I was fresh out of university, and overnight, I became a restaurant owner. I thought they had a great location in Toronto, and I became a partner of theirs. And so opened the first restaurant. At that point was called Cafe Nervosa. And I didn't know, but they were nightmare partners. We ended up buying one partner out immediately. Then my other partner, so it was the chef and I as partners for about 4 years. And it was a terrible partnership. And I got myself into a huge nightmare. And I was told not to go into this partnership. But I knew there was something good behind it, and that was the restaurant, the location. It was a good value restaurant in a high-end neighborhood, and I thought we're going to have a niche here. And so it was just, keeping my head above water, paying the bills, and thinking I need to get out of this partnership. And so got myself out of this partnership and became the sole owner of the restaurant group. And that was maybe the happiest day of my life, to end that partnership. And I learned a lot. About partners, and who you get into business with is very, very important. And from there, I slowly grew the company on my own, and I focused on buying real estate. So where the first restaurant is, I purchased the building. Then I started to look for another building, and then I started to buy real estate and put restaurants inside of the buildings that I was purchasing. And another long story short, slowly grew the company. So now there's 12 restaurants in Toronto, mainly Italian, but 5 Thai restaurants, a Middle Eastern restaurant, and Jamaican, a very fun Jamaican restaurant that's Michelin recommended. So I'm very proud of that. And
Wow.
Another Thai restaurant also that we have Michelin recommended in Toronto. So I'm very proud of that. And then came to LA 10 years ago and opened my first restaurant outside of Canada in Los Angeles, and opened up Felix on Abbot Kinney in Venice. And that restaurant has had the greatest accolades that I've received in the restaurant group. And so we have 13 restaurants, and a couple of very sad stories, but I ended up closing 2 restaurants down in LA. So I could be sitting here saying I have 15 restaurants, but instead I have to do the math and subtract 2, and that we can get into that because you've been some hard times in the restaurant business.
Well, it's a hard business. Even in the best of times, it's a hard business. And I know that not from an ownership perspective, but I spent a few years late in my college and a couple of years thereafter working in restaurants as both a bartender and a waiter. And I watched the challenges, from sort of behind the, back of house, if you will. Let's talk a little bit. But first of all, Felix, here in Los Angeles, I'm in San Diego, Janet's in LA. If not that it's easy to get into, because it's not. Their waiting list is always quite long, but anyone who listens to this that is a foodie at any level, Felix is an 11 on a scale of 10. I'm just going to say that. And again, you don't need the plug, but it's awesome. It sounds to me like most all, if not all of your restaurants are sort of cuisine specific, if you will, to a region or a geography or, one of the sort of four main food groups, right?
All the restaurants are just really one-off experiences. They're not, I don't have any kind of chain. I've not repeated myself at all. I need challenges. I need to keep creating new restaurants. So I start from scratch. So, we have one restaurant, it's called Pie, and it is like backpacker Thailand, and it's over 300 seats, and we do crazy volume there. And then we have a Royal Thai restaurant that's very small and seats 75 people and is Royal Thai. Each one has its own really individual story. Felix being more of a chef-driven restaurant and, built a brand around Evan Funke, who is now a star chef. Verified star chef now. So talented. And that was really one of the first chef-driven restaurants that I did. Most of my restaurants are neighborhood fixtures. That's why my first restaurant, Nervosa, has been there now coming on 30 years, because that was my goal. I'm going to, create a good value restaurant in an up-and-coming neighborhood and then become a fixture in that neighborhood. That was kind of the business plan. Always.
Well, those things work for sure. I did spend a few years in Philadelphia where neighborhood restaurants, that was the whole town. And I mean, it didn't really matter which neighborhood because there was always a great around the corner place to go. It's a model that I really love. I also love the fact that you're not doing anything cookie cutter. You're doing everything unique, inspired, and, sort of aspirational, and you bring it to life in a cool way. So over the past 30 years, other than the start of a bad partnership and ultimately figuring out that it had to be Janet and Janet alone, a couple of questions around that. Was there an individual or individuals along the way who you would call out as, I really appreciated that individual, I learned a lot, I took a bunch of those learnings with me, and that's part of how I got to be where I am 30 years on?
Definitely my father, and the company, the restaurant group Gusto 54, is named after or in honor of my father, who opened up. It was the first wood burning pizza oven in Toronto. He brought in the first espresso machine to Canada, and he had the first heated patio in Canada. So he was a pioneer and an Italian immigrant, and he worked very hard. Subsequently, after the first restaurant, he went into importing and distributing espresso coffee machines, and he introduced coffee culture to Canada. Watching my father be a pioneer and an entrepreneur and had a crazy work ethic, and he brought us, I have two sisters, so he had three daughters. Which he was not happy about. He wanted the boys. The Italians, they want the boys to help in the business, help on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
He got himself some girls, and we would go to work as 12-year-olds. My friends would be going up to their lake house, which we call cottages. They'd be going to cottage country, and I'd be like, I gotta work, which I hated. Like, what kid likes to do that? I look back on it, and it was work ethic. So he instilled in me a really strong work ethic. And he was a man of very few words, but he just encouraged me to do things as a boy would do them. And it would be even like lifting up a 3-group, extremely heavy commercial espresso machine, where he'd get on the other side and lift this up with me. And I'd be like, I absolutely cannot do that. I'm a woman, but I'm also tiny. I'm 5'1". And he'd be like, of course you can do it. You can do anything a guy can do. Get on the other side. And so I would like lift up heavy equipment. And he put in our minds, he was like, I don't have sons, but I'm going to treat them like sons so they can manage in this world. So I really appreciated that upbringing, not at the time of my upbringing, but you look back and I feel that I have an entrepreneurial spirit because of my father. I have a strong work ethic because of my father. And being an Italian immigrant, it was really, the value of a dollar, understanding the value of a dollar. And he would be like, it takes a lot to earn a dollar, and you have to save your money. And so I was always good with money because of him. So I think a lot of basics in life that has really served me. And he was my first boss at the age of 12.
Yeah, right.
So, and I didn't work for that many people. I went right into working for myself.
So those family values, the work ethic, the the sort of strength, your family led by your dad. And obviously, he not only did he make you lift the other side of the espresso machine, but he also obviously instilled you with trust, with confidence, with a can-do attitude that I can hear and see right now. I mean, that's who you are. So let's talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial spirit and the challenges of being an entrepreneur on the one hand. You got, 13 units in 2 countries. Did you ever, or have you ever had to go, or have you chosen to go to third-party investors to help you grow? Or is this a 100% Janet enterprise?
It was 100% the Janet show, funding everything, using the revenue from the other restaurants to then whatever I was doing, purchasing real estate and then building a restaurant. It was all funded with the revenue that was being generated. So I always did that until COVID hit. My life went upside down, as did everyone in hospitality and in many, many other industries. That was a particularly bad timing year for me because I had 4 restaurants under construction in 2020. So I had all these construction sites. COVID hits, my revenue goes to 0, and I owe millions of dollars everywhere on all these different construction sites. So my life just went upside down. So to complete these various restaurants that were under construction, I took on partners and raised some money. And so I had to operate differently and just raise money and give away equity. And it was, ever since COVID, the industry's changed ever since COVID. I would say before COVID, listen, I was on easy street, and that's the truth. And everybody would say to me, the restaurant business is tough. I never found it tough. And I always made money, and I always made a lot of money. So I never related to the business is tough. I just didn't.
Right.
I would say possibly because my background is business. That's what I studied at university. So I came in with a very strong business mind for this business that operates on very slim profit margins. So I thought about, always managing the margins so that we can make money. So I never related to it being difficult. COVID hit because of my personal circumstances of all these construction sites and needing millions and millions of dollars. My world went upside down, and now the industry has changed along with it. And I would say, for me officially, and everyone's experience is going to be different, I think it's almost unworkable. That's what I'm going to say. I think the industry is almost unworkable.
Wow. Okay, so that's a big statement. So if the industry is unworkable from your perspective, what are the sort of key elements that come into play that would drive you to that conclusion?
We're gonna need reform, and there's more and more restaurateurs speaking out about it, and I'm trying to get to politicians to talk about the reform that we need. And if I'm a person who has been successful in the business for 30 years and I'm finding it next to impossible to operate a restaurant because of the cards are just stacked against us as owners. Employees are really protected, but it goes against owners. And there's different laws that only apply in California. I think California in general is unworkable. Toronto's tough for a few other reasons. But what's happening right now is it is a multitude of factors. And the food cost is way up. And you as a restaurateur just accept, smaller margins. And you're like, okay, instead of we got as high as a 17% net profit margin. Then we go down to 14, 13, 12. We're like 10, 9. We're hovering around 10% net profit margin, which is still, when you're talking about the industry as a whole in North America, the net profit margin average is about 3%. So restaurants are making a 3% net profit margin, almost nothing, okay? And when people say, hey, pay your servers more, and why should we pay the tip? Okay, at the end of the day, you're just going to be paying more money because we can't afford to add in their tip. So what's happening is we have the food costs way up. Then you have minimum wage way up. So let's say in West Hollywood, the minimum wage, what we were paying was close to $20 an hour in minimum wage for a server who on top of it gets tips. So let's talk about the average that a server might make, $50 an hour. That server comes in for about 5 hours and makes $50 an hour, where your dishwasher is making, the hardest job in the restaurant is making $20 an hour. It makes no sense, but this is how the industry, this is what servers expect. That's what they expect, $50 an hour. But we have to foot the bill now to make sure that the minimum wage is paid at $20 an hour. Food prices are up. You can't pass everything along to the consumer because the economy is tightened now and people are spending less. There's a lot of people are unsure, and they're dining out less. Now let's add on people are drinking less. Where do you make your margins? You make it on alcohol. Now we're really seeing people drink less. And you're not making the margins. Yeah, you have the mock cocktails, but you're not making those type of margins. You know, your best diner is that really unhealthy person who drinks a lot and doesn't care what he or she is eating.
Right.
You know, bring it on.
Right.
Bring on the steak, and I want to eat a lot, and I want to drink a lot. And now let's add on another layer of GLP. I think that's not affecting us, and people eating less and sharing one entree or whatever. All of this adds up to being painful for hospitality.
Totally.
The brunt of it. And that's why I'm like, where are we going from here?
So that's interesting. It's a combination of hard costs on the food side, supply chain, labor costs, the challenges of employees, particularly the ones that aren't pulling their weight. Once you determine that's the case, it's really hard to, I'm going to be crass and say, fire the employee. You have to have this long tail documentation, give them 3 chances. Listen, everybody deserves a second chance, but you either figure it out or you don't. But the employer who's creating jobs should not be penalized when an individual or individuals aren't cutting the mustard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, this. Have you heard of PAGA? I'm not even going to tell you what it stands for because I always forget. PAGA gives the right to employees to sue employers. And it's really set up because the government couldn't manage all the complaints coming in with, bad employers. But what happens is that you have all these ambulance chasers of law firms that will get these employees together to sue restaurants, and they know it's stacked against the employers. The restaurants will just write a heavy check. So they come after you. And that's becoming like, I have to deal with this as well. This one woman who started it at Stella, which I closed down, she was getting a class action lawsuit, and we run it by the books. I still have to defend myself and spend maybe a few $100,000 to defend myself, to say, no, you were paid for your breaks properly. But this particular woman who started this lawsuit, this is her 3rd lawsuit with a 3rd restaurant. And she gets paid out every time she... and so they sit back and, they make these accusations. And now I have to choose, do I write a check for a few $100,000 to make them go away, or do I write a check for a few $100,000 to a lawyer to defend myself? Which one? I still lose a few $100,000, and I still have to do this. Only in California does this law exist. And no one is stopping the employee it's her 3rd lawsuit. She's like, I'm not paid for breaks. And
is it the same? I mean, I'm not paid for breaks 3 different times, 3 different restaurants. Yes. That was the same court. It was
same complaint. And it's, you can't go into these lawsuits because you lose. As an employer, you lose. We need reform. I don't want to open up another restaurant because I don't want these PAGA lawsuits on me.
Right.
They're looking for bad employers. We run it by the books. I've been at this 30 years. We're so careful with the law. We understand it. Doesn't matter. I'll write a check to a lawyer for $250,000 to prove that I paid this woman for her breaks. That's it. That's what's going to happen. Like, do we have to put up with this? And this is also, put salt in the wound. I closed that restaurant down because I couldn't make it. And now I have to still defend myself in these lawsuits.
It's crazy. I mean, the incentive to open a business, be an entrepreneur, create jobs, manage a profitable enterprise used to be part of the dream, right? And those that had the gumption to do it and do it well were rewarded. It seems like more and more the cards are stacked against that, whether it's in the hospitality industry or the construction industry or pick one, the medical industry. When we grew up, I say we, the doctors and the nurses, they were well paid for what they did. That has been so homogenized now that it's really a tough go for a physician to run his or her own practice, just like it is for you as a restaurateur to run your own restaurant. Well, that's a sort of a sad state of affairs. So let's talk about the fix. So you've lived the dark side, or you maybe are still living a part of the dark side. So what would, if Janet had the magic wand, she's Hermione in Harry Potter and she can zap anything. What's the fix?
We definitely need reform. The PAGA whole lawsuit angle that only exists in California has to change, and it's literally stopping people from wanting to open. Just based on the PAGA, I'm not interested in opening in California again. The only place where this exists. And I do say we have to stand up to bad employers, but it's abused right now. It's being used as a weapon against good operators. And they target the good operators that they think have money because they know they pressure you to write a check. That reform has to happen. And we have to stop paying servers on average what they're going to make with tips and with minimum wage, $50, $60 an hour. It's not right. Just because people got used to making that amount of money in that position, right? Your minimum wage plus tips. It has to be something that makes sense in the world. Why is your dishwasher making the least amount of money? And again, you can't look to the owners. Listen, I have to keep reminding people, the national average is restaurants are making 3% net profit margin. This is a national average. They don't have the money. They can't pay them anymore. They can't pay the servers.
You can buy a CD for 5 years and make 4.5%.
I'm finding it. If I open a restaurant, Stella, I invested this was with investors and a group, but we invested $9 million to open up one restaurant in West Hollywood, 230 seats. We're employing 100 people in there. But then you look at the supply chain and you look at the farmers and you look at the people that clean your restaurant. And, we're a good place to work. And we're a good company that treats people with respect, and we train people, and we're offering good jobs. And our revenue in our first year was $9 million, and we still couldn't make it. What are we supposed to do, right? To pay our rent was $75,000 a month. It's very hard. It's very hard to pay that in rent every month. And your food costs are up. And so we lost money. So we had to close our doors. We said, we can't make it. So what's the fix? We need to talk to people that understand. We want it to be win-win for everyone, but if we can't make it as restaurateurs, look at the domino effect. And please understand that if you look, I'm talking about West Hollywood a lot because the bylaws are the worst in West Hollywood. The closures are staggering. And we are going to see, it's already been a bloodbath in 2025. I think 2026 is going to be worse. It's the bureaucracy of even trying to open up a restaurant, or what it costs you to buy a liquor license or to even open your doors. I just feel I'm not interested in LA. And here I was coming in when we opened Felix. We got incredible accolades, and like I told you, we got the best accolade I've received in my career is Esquire magazine named us the best new restaurant in America. And it was so thrilling to have that accolade, and something that made a difference in LA, this one restaurant. And I was excited to open up more, and I'm not interested in this city anymore. I'm going to be here. You know what I'll do? I'll pay my taxes. I'll enjoy the sunshine, but I'm not going to provide jobs for people. I'm not going to be that person. I'll take it for what I can get out of this city. I'm trying to get to politicians right now, and I'm getting a lot of esteemed restaurateurs on board to say we got to talk to politicians. This is not workable.
Yeah, I mean, wow. Don't even know how to start that. But the venerable names, including your own, there's power in celebrity, quality, restaurateurs, chefs, etc. And if the aggregate is all saying the same thing, one would hope that somebody in the political landscape would pay attention and listen. Although California has a myriad of problems, not just those that you're talking about. And it's a shame because, hardworking, visionary, I will say, folks like you, Janet, that sort of have reached a point where you just are willing to throw in the towel. This is not good. This is not good for you. It's not good for the community. It's certainly not good for the industry. So I wish you all the best in whatever mechanisms you can find to at least bring the challenges and the problems and the realities to light and let someone who's an advocate for rules changes, if you will, or bylaws changes or law changes as it relates to, being a business owner. Listen, you got a lot of support, even though you don't know it. You do. And so just keep us posted on all of that, because it's a real problem. And it's unfortunate because restaurants like Felix don't come along that often. And given your background and capability, clearly, if conditions were different, you would open more restaurants in LA and have more Felix-like accolades, because that's what you do.
Yeah, and I also don't like to be the person that complains and doesn't do anything about it. I'm very solutions oriented, which is why I want to do something to give back, and I'm trying my hardest to get to politicians. It has to start somewhere, and reform is very difficult. But this is going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. So I'd rather be a voice, and we need some reform to survive.
Right. Well, exactly. So keep up the good fight. Don't quit until you've determined that all your options have expired. So on that note, if it wasn't LA, where, either in this country or abroad, would you look to as, that's a cool city, or that's, if you will, the laws, the bylaws, the rules of the road are far more favorable to the business owner and the entrepreneur than they are to the disgruntled employee for whatever reason? Where would it be?
Yeah, there's no perfect country. I will also say that.
Right.
This Canadian woman, we always in Canada hear about how litigious the United States is. I'm going to use a very strong word, disgusting.
You could have been stronger than that.
It is disgusting. And I've never seen anything like it. I didn't even know what people meant, but it's just how litigious in nature, how this is really, the lawyers are winning everywhere. Nobody's winning except lawyers. It becomes a lawsuit here. I've never had one single lawsuit in Canada. I come here and that's what I spend my time. I spend my time with lawyers. It's terrible. That's why I'm also like, I don't want to do much except enjoy the sunshine. California, what a fantastic state. I mean, it is the breadbasket, the farmers markets. Any kind of business here, I'm like, I don't think so. Canada is going to be better for that, but we have our own issues in Canada as well, and really terrible 6 months out of the year, the worst weather. So who wants that?
No.
And, I love Italy. Listen, Italy, I'm going to go back to Italy, but again, I will never, I will live there part of the year and just enjoy Italy, because it's also so messed up. It is so corrupt. It's so awful. In Italy as well, there is no perfect place. And, I'm at a different stage in life, right? I've been at this 30 years. I'm also like, how many more do I need? And,
right.
If it's I was opening restaurants because I'm so passionate. I love it. It's my life that I adore. And I have a lot of headaches now that I never had before. And I was like, why do I need this at this stage of my life? We have enough. So I'm going to be very careful about what I open, what I do. But I exited Canada as a taxpayer. I'm paying taxes here in California. I'll stay here. I'll use it for what's good here. And I'll be very careful about opening business here. I'm not saying it's going to be never, but I'm going to be very, very careful in what I do here. And, that's it, right out into the sunset. And try to be at the effect of some change in the reform area.
Got it. Well, my grandmother told me at one point, we all go through seasons, some really nice, some not so nice. And she said, but as bad a season as you might be in, this too shall pass. So we're going to look down the road and with optimism and confidence that the corner will be turned, and that Janet Zuccarini's got more fire in the belly, so to speak.
Yeah, I do want to say I have a charmed life, and I love it. And so you get some bumps in the road is part of it. It doesn't even really faze me that much. But, and I don't sit here and complain and say, okay, we need to help make some change. So My life's fantastic, and I've been designing my own life exactly the way I want to live it from day one. I have the most amazing team. I have plenty of successful restaurants. I own lots of real estate, and it's great. I have a home in Toronto. I have a home in Beverly Hills. I am privileged beyond words, and recognize that. Very much an appreciation of so many things.
But it's sort of helpful and informative to learn about and hear you talk about the realities that you faced and how you're dealing with them. I mean, we all have to go through that at various levels. But the good news is that you have, for lack of a better term, the luxury of a great life. I think you said one thing just a second ago, that if there's any takeaway that the audience can glean from this awesome episode, it's that you chose to design your own life from the get-go. And you did whatever it took to design that life. And you're still designing that life. So that's a great way to sort of go into our next session. We've got a few minutes left, and I always ask our guests kind of the same 4 questions. So the first one has to do with work-life balance. And you've just talked about your work life and how challenging that has been of late, call it since COVID. But my question is, in the realm of work-life balance, does your faith or does faith play a role? And if so, how?
Yeah, I'm a spiritual person, and I'm deep into meditation, and I just believe in something greater, not in anything that's organized, but I do believe in a higher power and faith. And even through the hard times, we have to take away lessons, and I think we have to turn it around quickly. I think life is very short, and the main purpose is to enjoy it. Enjoying it also means being a good person. How are you giving back? I think that's where you get, the most joy. And I have incredible work-life balance because I have an incredible team. And my head of operations has been with me for 30 years. And I think that says a lot about us as a company. And my leadership team, I've never switched up one single leader in my company. If I hired a president, she's been the only president I've had. I've only ever hired my leaders once, never been replaced. And when you work with people that you've been working with for so long, they, you train them and they run things. So it's my company, and certain things are important to me, and they know. And they make fun of me because I like to play tennis a lot. And I'm like, during these times when I play tennis, during COVID, it was every day. And no one books meetings with me because I'm playing tennis. That's my company, and I design my life, and I want to enjoy it, and I want people who work for me to enjoy it as well. And everyone has to answer what they need in their lives to be happy or have a balanced life. So I'll ask, certain leaders, like, what do you need? My head of operations, his wife is a teacher, and he's wanted good time off in the summer, like a month plus off in the summer to be with his wife, who's a teacher. In the summer, we're the busiest. But from the very beginning, I said, you need this, so take it. Let's figure this out, We're in the restaurant business. We're not saving lives, and I want to do a great job of it. It's also not so serious.
No, we're making lives better. Come on. Like we said at the start.
Shouldn't we have fun doing it?
Yeah.
We gotta have fun.
Exactly. And by the way, employee retention is a long-term, huge issue because it's a merry-go-round. And kudos to you for having leadership that's been in place for decades, because that is not easy to do. It's just not. People get restless. They get their nose out of joint or whatever. But man, that's something really to be proud of, to keep that core group in place for as long as you have. I applaud that in spades.
Yeah, I think it's rare, and actually it's the thing that makes me the most proud.
Well, you're blessed. I mean, obviously you are who you are, and you've generated the respect, the trust, the loyalty, but also the humanity of being a leader and understanding what your indispensable help requires. And that's an art, not a science. And, good on you for that. Next is the favorite concert show where a female singer-songwriter or a female-led band was the headliner.
That one's tough. It's a lot of men that I really like. And of course, my husband was a very famous recording artist, Robbie Robertson from the band. And
Oy,
I don't know.
There you go.
You knew that.
I didn't know that, but now you got to go back and watch the Martin Scorsese movie again, right?
Yeah, everyone has to watch that. Yeah.
Yes,
The Last Waltz. That was
exactly.
the favorite thing that I ever saw concert-wise. I mean, that was a movie that I saw, but for women, yeah, okay, I do have one, and that was with Jason Oberlander's wife, Michal.
Okay.
And Jason came. And that was, oh no, why am I going to blank on her name? Fleetwood Mac. Help me out.
Stevie Nicks.
Yes! Yeah. I can't believe, I'm very embarrassed that her name just escaped me right now, but I was going to say Pink. Pink is also, she's such a badass. She's amazing.
She is.
And she comes to Felix.
Right.
And seeing her live in concert, it's amazing. Stevie Nicks, just every song.
Every song
Did a lot
for
of Fleetwood Mac, which was really great.
30 way on years. Her soulmate, the other female singer in Fleetwood Mac, Christine McVie, passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But the two of them together were magical.
No. Yeah.
But that Stevie, that deep
Fleetwood
Stevie
Mac.
voice. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good one. Two good ones, actually. Okay, the next question. This is nobody's favorite, but it's called favorite. It's your favorite mistakes. That's an homage to Sheryl Crow because she wrote a song called My Favorite Mistakes. So this is where you really sort of had egg custard all over your face and apron, but you recovered from it. And what were your learnings? What was it, and what did you take away?
It was another restaurant that we opened in downtown LA. This was a COVID project. And COVID hit and we hadn't started construction, and I saw downtown LA go backwards overnight, where it was just turning a corner before COVID. Turning a corner, I was like, okay, downtown LA has hope, and I feel like it's going to turn in the right direction. And so we had this project, and it was another very large restaurant, and COVID hit, and I said, this is the one project I'm absolutely pulling the plug on. And then I had a lot of people everywhere come talk to me to say we need to do this project, and then the landlords came to me where I said I cannot even start construction here, like COVID, and they came on and they said we'll be your partner in this and we'll finance the rest of the project. And then a lot of people telling me, Janet, you're being given money, you're being given millions of dollars, we have to do this, the landlord's the partner. And basically, the long story short, I went against my gut, and my gut was do not proceed. Is not going to work out no matter what, no matter if we're given money. At the end of the day, we operated for 6 months. We opened to crickets. It was awful. I mean, I was only ever used to opening up to lineups. I'm like, I never saw anything like it before in my life. And maybe the smartest thing I did was I didn't even let it go past 6 months. I said, we got to shut this down. We're bleeding money. And the landlords came back and sued me for the full value of the lease for 25 years of the lease. So these people that came to me as my partners, and I said, this will never work. Yes, it will. And they came on as my partners, ended up suing me, and I lost millions of dollars. And I had to write them a big fat check for that. And what the takeaway is, I knew not to do it. And at least I'm thankful that my gut was right to say not to do it. And I hope that pays me forward to listen to my gut and to say when not to do a project, that I listen to it.
Well, you already are, because that still small voice gets louder and louder as time goes on. And the more you pay attention to it and listen to it, the better off you are. And obviously, over the past 20 minutes, you've made a clear decision on what not to do in LA for the time being. And at the same time, a clear decision on what to do. So that's another good one. So here's the last question. It's my favorite one. It's why I always call it sort of the pithy one. This is, what is your favorite word and why?
My favorite word right now is peace, and that is the ultimate goal of my life. And I think it's been born out of a lot of lawsuits and a lot of headaches, which I don't want anymore. And I don't want to spend time thinking about or dealing with that. And I want peace. I want peace in my life. I want to wake up and feel peaceful, and I'm going to work on that. I think there's nothing better than peace. I don't know. I think happiness is a big word. What does that really mean? I want to wake up in the morning. I want to feel peaceful.
Well, it's hard to be happy if you're not peaceful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's my word. That's my word for 2026.
I like that.
I have a second place word. Fun. Life
Listen,
is short. I want to have a lot of fun.
Right. Don't we all? That's awesome. All right. That's a great way to end this, Janet, with peaceful fun on the horizon for 2026.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough. This has been awesome. Our audience is going to love this. And just know that whatever anyone who you know can do to help get the word out, we will do it, because we're in support of the entrepreneurial spirit, and the quality at which you operate clearly precedes you.
Thank you so much. It was great being on your podcast. It was fun.